Welcome to Juggling Interviews. This episode is brought to you by eJuggle, the IJ's official online publication, where you can find the latest juggling news, articles, videos, and podcasts, just like this one. If you want to check that out, you can head over to their website at juggle.org/ejuggle, or with the link in the description. This episode is also sponsored by Play Juggling. On their website, you can find high-quality props like balls, clubs, rings, diablos, poise, fire equipments, flower sticks, glow props, and tons more. Head over to playjuggling.com and use my code XavJuggles, XavJuggles10, to get 10% off your next purchase. It's a great way to support me, so thank you a lot, Play Juggling. Now let's get to the episode. So hi guys, welcome back to Juggling Interviews. Today I'm with Matt Walmsley. How are you doing, Matt?
Doing good. How are you, Xavier?
I'm doing perfectly fine. It's so cool to have you here. I mean, I think I've been following you since the start of your series, Juggling Every Day, and I think that's such a fun challenge, and I respect the grind, so I need to have you here and talk about your juggling experience. It's so fun.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I mean, Matt, how did you get introduced to juggling?
So I started juggling when I was 10 years old because of a shoulder injury playing baseball. So I was a pitcher for the local travel league. Since I can remember, I played baseball as young as I could. Both of my brothers were athletes, so they're much older than me, and I was always the young little boy. So I was 2 when they were 12 and 14. So my middle brother is 10 years older than me, and my oldest brother is 12 years older than me. So they were always like the Walmsley duo playing sports together for our school. And they loved baseball. They got me introduced as young as I can remember. And I played baseball up until I was 10 years old. And then I tore my rotator cuff, which is like in the back of your shoulder, playing baseball. I was a pitcher. So I pitched for all of my travel games and league games. I don't even remember what they were called. But it was my lifestyle. Baseball was pretty much everything that I wanted to do. It's like any moment of free time I had, go outside, play baseball, come inside, think about baseball, plan about baseball. It was just everything I did. So when I tore my rotator cuff, I did not know what to do. And I don't remember how bad the tear was, but the only thing I remember is not being able to pitch. My final game in baseball, I I was up on the mound getting ready to throw a rocket to the catcher, which it was probably like 15 miles an hour since I was 10 years old. But I I just like dropped the ball. I was ready to throw, first inning of the game, opening. I threw it and it didn't even make it halfway to the catcher. And my coach pulled me aside. He's like, what's going on, Walmsley? What's going on? I didn't know what happened. I'm like, I don't know, coach. I'm trying. He's like, do better. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. And they kept just shoving the idea that my shoulder was a mental thing. They just kept shoving that down my throat. And eventually it was so bad that I couldn't raise my arm up to throw anything. So that's how my baseball career ended. I would have been the Kobe Bryant of baseball. Just saying. Just kidding. but now I juggle. So when I was 10, torn rotator cuff, I was sitting home just lazy, didn't know what to do, and I saw my dad juggling 3 ping pong balls. All I knew was the 3-ball reverse cascade, which was very confusing to me once I learned how to juggle, because I'm like, you don't go outside, you go inside, Dad.
Wait,
But
he only knew the reverse?
only
Damn.
reverse cascade. And my whole family, or at least the ones that juggled, they could only do the reverse cascade. Like his brother, I think so. I might be wrong on that, but I just remember everyone doing reverse cascade and learning cascade, thinking I was the crazy one. Um, but yeah, just from there, I took juggling more seriously the older I got. So from 10 to 13 years old, I was just juggling for fun, kind of as kids do. They don't think I'm going to be a competitive athlete in this sport, or sometimes they do, but most kids just do it for fun.
Yeah.
Uh, did you do it for fun when you were younger?
Yeah. I started during COVID though, so younger
During COVID.
teenager. Yeah.
Whoa. Wait, how long have you been juggling then?
Like 5 years. In May is gonna be 5 years. Yeah. But
That's
wait,
crazy.
I'm like computing your information. Like you couldn't throw a ball, so your first reflex was like start juggling.
Yeah, so I
Damn.
couldn't throw up here. So instead of
Okay, yeah,
throwing horizontal, I
yeah. It was
threw
easier. Yeah,
vertical
yeah,
because it was all in the shoulder position. So if I raised my shoulder up, I wasn't able to do anything. It's like this was painful, this
yeah.
was painful, anything in this elevated position. So I was doing everything down here. So juggling only flexes at the elbow. It doesn't really move the shoulder joint.
Okay, I see. I see. I
So
see.
yeah, it was weird because I loved ball sports. I played tennis, golf, baseball, and baseball was my thing. But after that, I had to give up a lot of those sports. And funny enough, those injuries have never gotten completely fixed. So right now, I'm in the rehab process for my rotator cuff that I never solved when I was 10. If you've ever seen videos of me doing back crosses or overheads, anything that's away from this position, and even sometimes in this position, my right hand throws are always on the wrong side of my face. So
Oh,
back
damn.
crosses, I can only go behind my head. It doesn't go like the other side of my neck, which my left hand does. Overheads, I'm kind of just wonky with it. So that's something
Yeah.
I'm really working on right now, changing my weightlifting protocol to rehab, so then I can get stronger in the correct paths as my shoulder heals. But yeah, that's how I started juggling. And at 13, I took it more seriously, and now I'm 18 and I'm taking it pretty seriously.
So like, from from your injury, did you notice any like stop during your juggling process? Like the first time you tried back crosses, was it just fine, or you just had like bad technique? Was it hurting at all, or just didn't
That's a
notice
good
it?
question. I noticed everything, but I got used to it. So it became my new normal. I went to physical therapy right after the injury. We refused surgery because it was something they said, well, if you put in a lot of effort, then you can fix it without surgery. So that's why I think it wasn't a
Mm.
full tear, because if it's torn off, it doesn't just
It's a
heal
surgery, yeah,
correctly. So I
yeah,
think it was like a minor rotator cuff tear. But as I grew and developed, those muscular imbalances became worse and worse. So my posture was different on both sides. Like my right shoulder came forward, and as I even now my neck is slightly tilted to one direction. So if I'm in a resting position, my right shoulder's forward, my left one's back, and I've compensated in this position. The more I've grown, and my method of fixing it after physical therapy was going to the gym. And I was like, the stronger I'll get, the healthier my shoulder will get, which works to an extent, but
yeah,
it's a flawed ideology when you push it to the extreme.
yeah. Crazy bad,
I
yeah.
had some recent injuries from that imbalance, which really, really stunk. Uh, Over time, when you have improper shoulder stability, the joint starts to get more wear and tear than it would otherwise. So every time I do, well, a little less now, but let's say as of 1 month ago, every time I did a press of any motion, like an overhead press, an incline, barbell, whatever it is, any pressing movement, I felt severe pain in the front part of my shoulder. And the doctor said it was bicep tendinosis. So there's tendonitis, which is acute inflammation, and then tendinosis, which is long-term, I guess, obtuse inflammation. But whatever it is, it did not feel good, and I wasn't really able to juggle at my full capacity. So for the past few months, I've been at a form plateau. My skill has gotten a little bit better. Like I've been able to do harder tricks more consistently, but my form isn't where I'd like it to be. If I looked back at jugglers like Thomas Dietz, when I was 13 is when I got introduced to the WJF, and I I related to Thomas Dietz a lot because of his shoulder imbalance. And I
Yeah.
always watched his like 7 ball patterns where he did 8x6 and his one shoulder was up. I'm like, wait, if I ever get that good, because I was doing 5 balls at the time, I'm like, if I ever get to that place, will I look like that? So that's when I started thinking about how to heal my body rather than how to get to look like a mass monster. So
Yeah, so
goals have shifted a little bit.
long term goals. I think it's healthier for your body, especially if you want to like push juggling. I mean, to the extreme in some sort of way, like pushing the technique. I mean, damn, yeah. But I've seen like in the last months on your series, you've been talking about how you want to like fix your back crosses, fix your overheads. Like you just notice
Mhm.
stuff about your stances and the patterns you do that you could maybe twitch a little bit and like move around that could maybe improve your performances. And like you've been telling me that it's still a plateau, or do you think like the changes you've made can help some patterns, like some positions like back crosses, for example?
The changes in my resistance training have made a huge difference. Um, this is going to sound insane, but it's the sauce that nobody knows about. I went on Chat GPT and typed in every single symptom that I experienced with the shoulder problem. And I've gone to multiple physical therapists at this point, and none of them have fixed it at all. They've given me knowledge, which is the best part of the experience there. So I explained my symptoms, and I introduced to ChatGPT the concepts that I've learned from my physical therapist. The big one being the fact that muscular imbalances tend to go in a crossed pattern, or imbalances in general, not just muscular. So I realized that my right shoulder was hurting a lot, and at the same time, my left hip. So I have
Mm,
it's weird. I have a few different injuries, some of them which I just ignored because I'm like, it's not affecting my juggling. So screw that. But my left hip I have an impingement in my left hip, and the doctor said I have a impingement in my right shoulder. But now that I've learned a lot, I've realized that the impingement is 100% fixable. It's something that I can take and change how the surrounding muscles are able to support that joint. So for my hip, I noticed that the glute medius was weakened and my external rotation. So when you move your hip outwards, was very unstable. And same with my shoulder. So when I go into this external rotation position, I am very shaky and the right
mm,
muscles are not activated in my back. Uh, and that goes for any muscular imbalance. If you leave something unfixed for long enough, it's going to start affecting other parts of your body.
for
So
sure, yeah,
the way I look at it is that you compensate. Once you're injured in one area, another area starts compensating.
yeah.
So at one point, I I had a lot of stupid injuries, but I strained my QL, so the muscle in the back of your the side of your back, so like right along your side. It's kind of like the opposite of your core. It bends to the side. So I strained my QL when I was playing tennis, and at the same time, I was sick and deadlifting, and I wasn't taking care of my body very well at the time. But that then leads you up to another area. So like your left pec, like these cross imbalances can be very critical to longevity in a sport, or just longevity, period. Like if you're trying to stay healthy for a long period of time, you don't want to leave injuries unfixed because that'll affect other areas. You'll compensate, and that's never a good thing. So that's what I've learned over the past few months, and surprisingly enough, ChatGPT has helped me address some of those areas by just learning like what is imbalanced and what I need to research deeper into. Like I don't just go on ChatGPT say, "Give me a list of exercises." It's more of like, help me figure out what is wrong with the symptoms that I have. So it's good for those type of answers.
I see, I see. But like concretely, how did you notice the changes in your juggling as you do resistance training?
Mhm. The biggest changes I noticed are in mobility. So when I do external rotation drills, especially with my shoulder, I have more internal rotation. So a lot of things online say that you need to do sleeper stretches where you're here and you're cranking your shoulder into internal rotation to unlock more internal rotation. But for my case, that was not true. And what I needed to do in order to unlock more internal rotation was strengthen my external rotation. And at the same time, I was doing just like cross body stretches before juggling and very elaborate warm-ups, which it's very inconvenient, but but it helps a lot. My back crosses have shifted drastically because What I've done is I recorded myself trying to reach behind my back and up like as far as I could go on both sides. My right side couldn't even make it to the middle of my back, and my left arm could basically touch my neck. So I've used that as a measurement to see how much I've improved with internal rotation and resistance training, especially the stability drills that I warm up with. Those have been a game changer, and I'm trying to release more content about that for any jugglers who are experiencing similar symptoms, or even as a preventative measure. Because we're doing as jugglers, we're in extreme ranges of motion that we're not necessarily meant to be in for as long as we
for a
are.
long
Like if you
time.
throw 100 back cross throws in a day, you are cranking your shoulder into this weird position behind your back over and over and over and over. And that's what causes overuse injuries. So prevent rather than address in the future.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's the best thing to do because like once you have an injury, it's not too late, but it's like
Yeah.
if you did stuff properly and you warmed up just for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes before your juggling session or something, like that's already like 50% of the work done. Like you're just gonna prevent the injury like way more than if you just go for it. And, like especially back crosses and like I'm trying to think of other movements. Even like, have you ever noticed? I don't know if you do that kind of juggling, but you know all the people doing like the foot kick ups, like your leg
Mhm.
goes like to the side. Have you seen
Yep.
people like juggling
Yeah.
two balls on one leg? Like your knee just does like weird stuff like over and over. Like it's kind of weird. Like, some positions are weird, but like the regular juggling stance can get tiring if you have like a bad stance and you're like reaching and you're like force your shoulders. Because also like I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes when we're about to like drop a ball, I think we rather like do reflex catch all the way there than like let it drop. So I think like doing
Yeah.
big motions or like odd movements can get a little bit weird on the shoulders. So maybe like even like the quick warm ups and everything could like really help the mobility. And like you say in the gym, you could apply these kind of resistance training. Let's say a juggler is like struggling with their shoulders, what give me like a couple exercises you could suggest them to do and like the one that worked for you. You're probably not a physical doctor yet, but if someone like has the similar symptoms as you, like can you give me some tips that worked for you that
Yeah.
maybe someone could apply to them?
To preface, I'm not a medical doctor. Do not sue me. Not a physician. But the the biggest advice I can give, just a blanket statement to everyone, is start off your juggling sessions with 5 minutes of dynamic stretching. Static is good in its proper time, but dynamic stretching, where you're moving through ranges of motion rather than staying in ranges of motion, is the best thing you can do. It doesn't take that long, and it gets your shoulders, gets just do it for every large area or like joint area in your body. I do ankle rotations and just hip movements, like open the gate, close the gate, just moving in all directions that you can, going into these extreme ranges of motion that might be not considered extreme, but just up, around, try to get to positions that you know you're going to be in while you juggle. um, in terms of exercises you can do, uh, I address each area just like I do with the dynamic stretches. The big areas that I focus on before juggling: wrists, shoulders, elbows, and hips. I should probably do more core work. I've heard Jean de Baptiste talk a lot about that. And for that, the McGill Big Three, it's very simple, it's very quick. I do it every once in a while. I should probably do it more. But for wrists, your wrist can only move in so many directions. So there's radial deviation, which is when it comes in front. So if your arm is straight down and you're pulling up, there's ulnar deviation. So when you pull back, actually, it'd probably be best if I just stand up for this so I can show you what each one does.
It's
So
great for
there's,
it's great for people in audio.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Radial deviation, there's ulnar deviation, uh,
Yeah, I see.
pronation,
Yeah, supination.
supination, or it might be flipped, and then flexion, where your forearm muscles are flexed, and
Yeah.
extension. I think those, I think I got them right, but I might be slightly off. For those of you listening, if your wrists hurt, go back and watch that. You will not regret it. Uh, Biggest one, or the most important one, is definitely the ulnar deviation in this motion because we rarely work this area. If you're doing a hammer curl or any curls, you tend to flex your wrist a little bit, so you're
Mm-hmm.
working the radial, but you're not really working the ulnar too much. So that's where I injured my wrists, and those ulnar deviation raises, like with a water bottle or just a regular gym attachment. I have a specialized wrist bar, but that you don't need that. You just anything works. Um, and for elbows, I tend to do. It sounds like it's not going to be for elbows, but it actually does help my elbows. Radial deviation, ulnar deviation, supination, all those things. It's like a system. I joint stack a lot, so when I do wrists, it also helps your elbows a little bit, and it might help your shoulders. I don't really think about it that way.
But
For
yes,
shoulders,
the
come
forearm
on.
muscles are attached to the elbow. So in any way you if you do all the angles, like technically everything around your everything around your elbow is like all the joints that like help the muscles being like damn
Mhm.
keep the muscle stable. Like if you warm them up properly and you do every angle, like there's no other things you can do for your elbow. Like otherwise, just
Mhm.
like maybe some curling or like
Yeah.
yeah, I think you if you cover the wrist and the forearm, it's covering literally everything that's attached to the elbow, going up to your hand.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So,
Um,
which exercise you say? Like you take any weight and you like do any wrist like any range of motion with your
yeah,
wrist. You take.
it's hard to explain for the like the ulnar deviation and the radial, but it's you want to hold the end of something that has weight the opposite direction. So I
Yeah.
choose like a straight bar and hold one end. So if you're in the middle, it's going to be equal on both sides, so you're not going to get any resistance. But I grab the end of like a straight bar, so then when I pull back, all the resistance is here and it's
Mm-hmm.
not in front. That wouldn't work their correct muscles.
I see.
Um,
I see. I
I,
see.
I tend to do a lot of reps for those physical therapy exercises, usually in the 15 to 25 rep range. And I still train it hard. A lot of people think that if you're doing correction exercises, you don't need to push, you just need to go through the motions. But I don't think that works. I've noticed more benefit from pushing those sets closer to failure. I'm not saying to failure, but maybe like 4 reps in the tank. If you really pushed, you can only get 4 more. That's the way I tend to look at it. But if it hurts, don't do it. Like go to the point where you feel relief. Every time I'm done a set of physical therapy exercises, I feel relief. I don't feel more pain. But then eventually, when you build up to it, you progressively overload your physical therapy exercises. You won't feel pain when you get closer to that failure mark. So that's how I usually warm up.
That's
A lot
interesting.
of
Yeah.
wrist stuff, shoulder things. The one exercise I can recommend is banded W. So I hold here. There's like a resistance band. I hold on the edges and externally rotate
Mm.
out. Hold this position. Go back in. That one has changed my shoulder mobility and stability so much. So that's my recommendation for shoulders. You can get super into the deep water, but that'd be too much.
I think that's perfect. Like I think that's a great topic to talk about. Even though we're no one here is a professional, but like we can talk about our experiences and what helped us. And often jugglers like suffer from the same kind of symptoms. Like we all like I think almost every juggler has noticed any type of pain in the elbow and the shoulder once in their juggling career. Like I think everyone
Yeah.
has that kind of injury. Sometimes it's wrist, like you said, but I think yeah, I think it's super interesting to like share or even people in the comments if you have any exercises that you've done that like incredibly changed the way you juggle and like you have no pain anymore at some specific places. Just type them down. Like people read through it. I think it's a great thing to like share because juggling is like you said, it's weird ranges of motion. Like there's not many sports that do like ranges of motion like back crosses in the back or like
Mhm.
it's pretty weird. So I think there's like not a crazy ton of studies like for the shoulder health of like back crosses motion and that kind of weird stuff we do. But yeah, people share your thoughts and your exercises. I think it's a great thing to go through them. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think if we start talking about your content creation, your new series that you've done for the last year or so? Um,
It's day 235 today as of
yeah.
April 21st.
So for a little bit of context, can you give me the start of your series and explain what it is?
Yeah, so I've been juggling every day, and the goal is to juggle every day until the Olympics, the 2028 Olympics. And I have a definition of juggling that allows the day to count. So as long as I juggle for 30 minutes, and that is bare minimum, it's like a complete rest day, 30 minutes while trying tricks that challenge me. So if I'm just juggling three balls in a cascade pattern for 30 minutes, that doesn't count. That's I need to practice some trick that challenges me in some way. So that might be Mills Miss with five balls or some trick that I will drop on and need to improve at. Some days, usually my rest days, I take Sunday lighter than every other training day. Some weeks I have to shift that around, but one day of the week, I do 30 to 45 minutes of site swap work, usually with balls to give my wrists, elbows, shoulders a bit of a rest. So I just do site swaps that challenge me and try to get new PRs uh, with catches. But that's a rest day. Uh, the whole point of this challenge to juggle every day for 1,400 days uh, is because I read a book by Michael Phelps, and his coach is named Bob. Michael Phelps, if you don't know, is an Olympic swimmer, one of the best athletes to ever walk the face of Earth. And he always talked about consistency in the sport, creating people who are remembered in the sport. So even though every session might not have been the best, he showed up every day. And sometimes the days where he felt the worst at the beginning ended up being the most productive practice sessions. And I relate that to juggling to a T because there's some days where I walk in and I'm like, this is going to be a terrible day. I have a crappy warm up, and then I go in and have an amazing session. My shoulders feel good. My juggling feels perfect. But then there's days where I feel great. I go in and it's terrible.
Yeah,
So showing up every day gives you the best mix of good and bad days because at least you tried every day, and mindset is huge. If you go in every session like, oh, this could be a bad day, might as well not try. You're not going to gain anything. It's all about the intensity of what you do, and consistency is one of those things that it moves the ball forward. What's my cat doing? Uh, it if you're going to the gym every single day and just doing something super light, you can check that box and say, I did it, but you're not going to get much stronger. You're not going to get much better. But if you go in twice a week and you push your absolute hardest, you are going to gain more progress than if you went in every day and barely did anything. You didn't put any intensity, your
yeah,
mindset wasn't there. So I view consistency as something that pairs along with intensity. So my whole goal is to allow my body enough rest in between to perform at my highest capacity on the most amount of days possible. So if some days I have to take it light, so then the next day I can push even harder,
yeah,
I will do that. But I think consistency is just so important because you'll never know if that day would have been an amazing session if you never went in and tried.
for
So it's
sure.
intensity, consistency, they go hand in hand. Um, I met a man named Dominic Datana in the Ocean City or in Ocean City, New Jersey last summer, and we've become good friends since then. He is a TikTok influencer. He does social media, and amazing guy. Uh, he's been running every day for 1,500 days, and he inspired me to start juggling every day because he's noticed a lot of progress in his running, his health, and pretty much anything you can name. He hasn't got injured either, which is very impressive. He's run 5 miles every day for over 1,500 days, and I looked at that and said, if he can do 5 miles a day, like that is incredible. I can juggle for 30 minutes a day, and I started at the end of my performing last summer. So I juggled. I did street performing on the Ocean City, New Jersey boardwalk, which is just my this is my thing. I like doing it in the summer. And since then, I just the last day of the season, I juggled every day, and I actually didn't record my first 15 days or my first 13 days of juggling every day. I just did it, and I was like, you know what, I should make a series out of this because since he's on TikTok and does social media, he encouraged me to try it out. He's like, come on, like it's just like juggling. You go in there, you be consistent, and you put effort in. So it's it's the same formula for any goal you're trying to achieve. Consistency plus intensity equals results. Which well, that sounds kind of cool.
But also, like,
So
I think something interesting in the last 200 days. I mean, you've gained like 3,000 followers on Instagram, just
yeah,
by. I mean, by today's date, we're in April, end of April. I think that's crazy. Like a couple hundred days, you can get that many followers, especially in a niche like juggling. Like that just shows how consistency like can improve in everything. Like if you didn't start doing content, maybe you wouldn't have like, I mean, I wouldn't have discovered you. I mean, that's how
mhm,
the algorithm pushed me to your account. Like, it's showing you, showing what you can do, like multiple days in a row. It's just like it's showing people that you're here. Like you're literally doing it every day. So like, might as well join while you see me around, right? Because if you did the
yeah.
challenge like on your own, you could have done it. Like you would have had like all the juggling progress that you wanted, but then the fact that you can like post every day is just like showing that to the community, and there's like so many more viable options out of that. Like if you want to make any like kind of business out of this, or like if you want to meet even more people, get invited to festivals, like I think there's crazy benefits of like showing your stuff online like this. And also you do pretty high quality content for like daily posts. You do a good voiceovers, good editing. You always try to bring out new stuff. You don't just do like a 3 second clip of what you did today and like put text and upload it. You do like voiceovers, you do everything. So that's another like hour or so in your day. I don't know how long it takes you to edit, but I think that's a lot of dedication. But like, do you still find it cool to like do your editing on your own? Do you plan on like maybe doing? Because I've seen it the last couple of weeks. You've been trying to maybe slack down on the posting. You want to do once a week, but then right now you might be back to every day. So for the content creation as itself, posting online, like what did you learn in the last months, and what do you plan on doing in the future?
There's a few key points I want to hit. The first one is that people look at content as something that will boost your progress. Personally, I think if I didn't make these videos, I could be slightly better at juggling. Because when I'm in the gym, sometimes I have to take a 5 minute rest to set up my camera to make sure like, the mic is on so I can talk sometimes. And those little breaks can sometimes ruin your focus a bit. And I think that if I did the same amount of time in the gym, same amount of time juggling with no camera, I might be slightly better because I wouldn't have pushed for certain tricks that I knew were too hard for where I'm at, but I just wanted to get on video. But at the same time, it could be the opposite, and pushing for those tricks could be the things that make me better and have eh, creating content could have actually made my progress faster. I'll never really know which one of those is true, but creating content is a little more than just trying to get better at juggling. The content part is what creates a community, and I've always loved creating content. I don't want to make it as much about what I can do. Like this is what I did today, which that does struggle for me because the whole series is like, this is what I did today. Check it out. But I want to be able to motivate others who are starting in their juggling journey, especially young jugglers. Because when I was a kid just starting in juggling, I always looked up to people who posted their tricks, not just from a juggling standpoint, but from a confidence standpoint. Because I was a very shy kid. I've my mom's Italian, so I don't know how I was shy when I was young. But now I'll talk to everyone. I'm very talkative. But the first juggling festival I went to, it was it was in the Poconos. It was the Pocono Juggling Fest, and I saw I saw Jonah. I saw Delaney, or yeah, it might have been Philly Fest. I don't know if it was Philly or Pocono, but I remember seeing Jonah, Delaney, and someone else. But I saw them juggling and I got so scared. I didn't talk to anyone the entire festival and I went in the corner and juggled for 2 days straight. And I'm just like, I'm gonna get better so then one day I can build up the confidence to talk to them. And creating social media posts, the initial point of it was for fun and so I could connect with the community better. Because I was nervous to talk to people. I'm like, they'll never know who I am unless maybe I come up on their feed one day. So the initial motivation is a lot different than what it is now. I've always loved cameras, just the machinery behind it. My friends from school always enjoyed taking pictures, and we did little video skits. I have countless videos of ping pong trick shots and water bottle flipping videos that I unlisted from my YouTube channel, but I just loved making content. So I want to get back to posting every day, but I have a project that I'll give a little bit of what's going on here. So I've been getting into sewing and I'm making juggling balls, and I really at first, I didn't know if I wanted to showcase it to the world, uh, because I feel like I was like, "Oh, maybe people will want me to, like, sell them or something," but I'm like, "I'm not ready for anything to that caliber yet."
Mm.
So I set a little bit of my time making videos into learning a completely new skill I've never sewn in my life. And now that I'm getting more confident in my abilities with creating juggling balls, and I'll just slowly get better at that, um, I'm gonna spend more time with content again. So the I spent 2 months making weekly reviews, and I didn't skip any days. Some people suspected that I stopped juggling every day. That is not the case. Um, but I'm happy to say that the daily posts are coming back next week because college is finishing as
Ooh.
well. So no more college. We're going juggling all the way.
Also, in the summer, it's always cool to go outside and juggle. Like, I mean, you juggle in the gym, but like even on your own practice, like if you wanna do some days outside, like you might as well post some, right?
Yeah, I love juggling outside. I've been getting more into the health space because I realized that some of my injuries were happening because of chronic inflammation just in my body. So I've changed around my training, my diet, my habits to be focused on athletics. Because after all, juggling is a very athletic venture. If you're going to go into the sport or into the fun of it, if you're going to go into juggling in general, you've got to be ready for some setbacks. And minimizing those setbacks is what will allow you to get to levels that you might not have thought you could get to. So my days consist of a lot more outdoor time than they used to. Um, Sounds crazy, but grounding has been very influential in reducing chronic inflammation in my body. I've had numerous calf injuries, so many calf injuries. And my Achilles tendon was sore every morning that I woke up. Like I woke up, I took my first step. It felt like my calf was going to tear off of the Achilles. And ever since I started getting outside more, grounding, walking barefoot, building my body up from the foundation, which is our feet, I've noticed less pain in my calves and ankles and quicker recovery from the gym, which that could be a product of other things. But being outdoors and especially juggling outdoors in the summer, I think it has a pretty influential impact on your ability to improve and just your happiness and the fun you get from juggling. Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not gonna continue with it.
Gonna go, yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah, you
It's the
can't
exact
set
same thing
yourself up
as
for something that's
diets. Like
hard.
people stopping diets is because they're restraining what they like. They just stop eating the food they like. So it's so easy to
Yeah,
quit after 2 weeks. But like if you make it more enjoyable, it's so easy to go back to it. The more enjoyable
exactly.
you make it, like it's just easier to go back to it, and like your body is gonna be so much happier. Like when
Exactly.
it's just
Connecting
like,
back to nature.
yeah. Also like psychologically, like just being around fresh air and sunlight, it's just so good. It's
It's
especially,
amazing.
yeah, in the summer it's the right time to do that. And also wear sunscreen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in that camp where I love all the beef tallow products and things that are animal based. So I've been wearing like this beef tallow sunscreen, and I used to have really bad acne. I know this is a juggling podcast, but getting away from like processed foods and sticking to things that are closer to nature, I've seen big improvements in like my skin health, which I guess is connected to inflammation, and like my hair health. I got a buzz cut, you might remember from the juggling series, and my whole goal was to fix up the health of my hair because I had really bad dry skin on like the back of my head, and I couldn't sleep. Like it would wake me up in the middle of the night. And I'm like, what is going on? Something is wrong here. I have acne. Like there's tribes in Africa who don't wash their face every morning with all these crazy products, and they don't have acne.
They
Like
have like glowing
what's
skin.
that about?
Yeah, yeah.
So I cut out all of the processed foods in my diet. I think for over 4 months, I didn't have a gram of processed sugar, which after the first week or so, I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be so hard," but I just started enjoying it. Like, I ate a lot of fruit before workouts and honey, and just I felt way better. I could perform better. I cut out, like, seed oils. I don't really know too much of the scientific literature behind it, but when I was just eating, like, steak, eggs, fruits, honey, uh, I felt way better. I could perform better with my juggling. I was able to up my training. So I'm lifting more and I'm juggling more than I really ever have. And I'm just coming back from a wrist injury and I feel great. Like my performance in the gym and in juggling, they've both gone up after fixing my diet, like fixing my health, getting more outdoor time, which even your sleep, like getting outside in the morning when the sun is just rising and getting outside during the day a little bit and when the sun's setting, uh, especially the morning and the evening, getting sunlight in the 2 hours before the sun sets and when the sun rises, you sync your circadian rhythm to help optimize your sleep quality. So I've noticed a big improvement in my sleep from getting outdoors in the morning and in the evening, and all of it just connects. Once you start fixing one aspect of your health, the rest start to follow because you realize that it's possible. I feel like we've been lied to that we have to be stuck in the world of like a lot of pharmaceutical drugs. Like I've my grandfather has dementia, and his whole life he drank Coca-Cola and ate Edmund's cakes, a ton of processed sugar, like seed oils. And I look at that and I'm like, I've seen 80-year-olds who are way healthier than that. Like what's the difference between that and someone who's able to go surfing when they're 80? And
Mm.
even though a lot of modern media says that you can't change that stuff, I truly believe you can. And my opinions will probably shift as I age and as I mature. But right now, I've seen a lot of improvements in my overall health, in juggling, and just life from fixing around my health habits. Even this is one big thing I wanted to mention: nasal breathing. I've I think I'm gonna start trying a little piece of mouth tape over my mouth when I juggle to see if I can breathe through my nose throughout my entire session. Uh, because recently I've noticed the impact that nasal breathing can have on your cardio. I read a book by uh, not James Clear, James Nestor. It's called Breathe, and I gained a lot of insight about nasal breathing and how it can affect juggling, how it can affect your overall health, and especially while we sleep. It's a topic you can dig in forever.
I mean, I think I've seen Spencer talk about that too. Like, he did like a post on Patreon, giving like a lot of insights. Like, not the like obvious one where you have to like be straight and like have a good posture, because everyone's just recommending that. But he like gave a bunch of little insights that you might not think about. And he said like when you're juggling, especially when you want to be like super focused, like, and you want to do like either endurance or like performance, try to like stick your tongue at the roof of your mouth, kind of like
Yes,
mewing, but just like not necessarily forcing anything, but it's just like to not let your mouth take over, because people tend to like, tend to have like the concentrated face. Like you see that someone's struggling when they're like mouth open and everything.
exactly.
So like he said, especially in performance, like he performs around the world. So I mean, right now it's just in America, but like when he goes
Mhm.
around the world and everything, like you have to perform. So you have to like look good while doing it, and also like keeping your posture straight and like your mouth closed and everything. It just keeps your, I don't know, your body's made to like just stay in that way, right? It's not made to like shift in weird positions and everything. So like if you breathe by your nose and you keep your mouth like shut, it's always going to be the same. You won't have to like struggle with like bringing your attention somewhere else, because if it's always like stuck that way, you're used to having your body like straight and like in that position, so that's your ground point. I mean, Spencer, I have to look at Spencer's Patreon again, but I'll probably link down if I find it. I'll link the post down. But I think there's a lot of insights like that are not super obvious that could like boost incredibly the performance of your juggling.
I would love to check that out. One thing that I've been utilizing as a warm up for my juggling, it's called Mackenzie chin tucks. And what you do is you align yourself against the wall and you're trying to make as many double chins as possible. So you're forcing your neck down and you're trying to bring the back of your head up slightly. And it brings a huge stretch in the back of your neck and it helps with your posture a ton. When I do that, I notice that it's easier to keep my tongue on the roof of my mouth. It's just proper tongue position. It's just like how you would have good posture with your back. You need to have good posture with your tongue. Our palates have narrowed over the course of the last few decades by I think it was like 4 millimeters. I need to double check that, but our palates, however much, they've narrowed over the course of time. So keeping our tongue in the correct posture in the correct position will help keep our palates the correct width. Teeth have been crowded. Like my teeth were always crowded as a kid. And as soon as I started doing mewing, essentially using proper tongue posture, I've noticed increased benefits in the like layering of my teeth. They're not all crowded. They've slowly expanded. And this is a little bit of gold dust for people listening here. I've been doing this thing called thumb pulling. It's people think that it could be dangerous. Like you'd be like, oh, what if you pull your teeth out or something? But all you do is you put your thumbs on the back of your palate and you pull out slightly. And you're not pulling on your teeth. You're pulling on the top of your palates, and it expands your airways. Because I've had a deviated septum since I can remember, and I've always been told that surgery is the only way to fix it. I've been doing corrective exercises like thumb pulling and a specified deviated septum where you're like pushing your nasal bridge to the way the deviated septum is. And I've noticed increased breathing. I can breathe way better while I juggle. So I don't need to breathe through my mouth if I have good tongue posture and I do these corrective exercises to get my palate where it should be and my nose breathable. So correcting deviated septums and all the stuff I just said. It's gold dust. You need to check it out if you're having problems like that.
Yeah. Also like, yeah, I think especially what I'm hearing is like you're trying to optimize a lot of thing, like your sleep, your eating habits, your exposure to sun, everything. Like it's
Yeah.
just, I mean, it could seem extreme, but like why not make these changes when even overall, if you remove juggling from your life, like all that is just benefits still. Like it doesn't just apply to juggling, but it also does at the same time. So like, I mean, if you could walk me into your juggling session, like let's say you want to go into your gym or whatever place you want to juggle, like do you have any habits you do before? Do you eat anything to have like more energy during the practice session? What do you bring water? Do you want to drink while you're juggling? What kind of habits do you have for your juggling training?
Yeah. To preface this, I would like to say that health equals performance. The better your health is, the better your performance will be. Same thing with looks. I mean, there's a whole looks maxing trend online, which I don't care about the superficial stuff. I care about the health benefits. There's a guy online named Oscar Patel and he talks a lot about how health equals looks. But at the same time, health equals performance. I think that's a big thing that the whole looks maxing trend is missing. The healthier you are, the better you can perform. It's not a superficial thing. It's a real, genuine, authentic change that you're making into your performance. So the way that I lay out my practice, I always lift first, and I have like two separate warm ups. My timeline goes warm up for lifting, lifts, take a 30-minute break where I hydrate. I drink usually some carbohydrates. I drink a little bit of raw milk, and I eat some fruit. Not enough to make me feel like sick to where I couldn't juggle in a half hour, but I eat a little bit to refill my glycogen bins, make sure my body has enough energy to perform in my juggling session. So I warm up, lift, I juggle, I hydrate, get a little bit of food in me, and stretch. 30 minutes later, I juggle for 90 minutes followed by going home and resting. And usually the first 10 minutes or so of my juggling, it involves warm ups. So I'll go a little bit into depth of all four of those parts. So warming up for my lifting, depending on the things I'm going to be doing in the gym that day, I tailor my warm up a bit different. If I'm doing lower body, I tend to do a core warm up. The McGill Big Three is amazing. It's just good for core stability. I don't know all the details, but it helps me a lot with squatting, RDLs, any movement that involves hinging of the hips or squatting. So I warm up with core stability, and then I do lat stretches. When you do barbell squats or anything that you're holding behind your head, you need to have shoulder mobility that allows for you to hold the bar stable on your back. Uh, for some reason, well, I guess for a reason, because my shoulder is a little messed up, my right arm is back like this, and I can't go into that deep position while keeping the bar steady on my back. So I'm always like this, and the bar is tilting to the right. And when I squat, that creates even more problems. So I warm up with some lat stretches. I get under the bar, I stretch my lat as much as possible. I do a little bit of lacrosse ball rollouts, especially getting in the posterior shoulder, around the shoulder blade. So after you stretch a little bit, that's when I do corrective exercises. So after my lat is warmed up, after my rotator cuff is warmed up, and after the back of my shoulder is loosened up, then I'll do some banded W's just to correct my shoulder a bit. And I'll do scapular pull ups. So I hang from a bar, and instead of pulling up all the way, I let myself sink super deep and then squeeze up like that. So you're using the lower trap muscles of your back to pull yourself up. So you're not going up here, you're just retraction and the opposite of retraction. So that's my warm up usually, and sometimes I'll throw in some external rotation drills where I rotate up and press. Uh, the other one I cycle through, this is the last one. Uh, it's called, I think it's called a wall slide. I have a foam roller on a wall right about head height. I put it right on my wrist and I press up. There's a muscle called the serratus anterior that's located on the outside of your pec, kind of near your lat muscle. And it's very underdeveloped. It's underused if you don't do much overhead pressing. So for me, I have a lot of shoulder instability. So my right shoulder experiences a lot of pain in the front, as I described before. And one of the root problems for that is because my serratus anterior is weakened because of my rotator cuff instability. So I address those problems. Then I do my workout. Usually I stick to functional exercises. I like to do more calisthenics now. So I do a lot of pull ups, push ups, dips. I still do some, like I do incline dumbbell press, very good range of motion, squats, hip hinges. So like Romanian deadlifts, one of my favorites. I'm getting into Nordic hamstring curls. If you've ever heard of them, they're very difficult. So I'm still working my way up to those calf raises, and that's the majority of the exercises I do. Anything that is the natural movement of the body, I do some sort of row. It's hard to do that body weight, so I usually use like a T-bar or some dumbbells. But it's just hitting every part. I do back extensions to hit the lower back because people tend to neglect that, and that causes anterior pelvic tilt, which is something else I've had to rehab a little bit. And then from there, after I do my lifting, I hydrate. I drink electrolytes. I use these. They're called, or they're from the brand Santa Cruz Paleo. People have had this idea that sodium causes high blood pressure, but that's starting to become debunked. I'm not super fluent on the science, but I've looked into it a little bit. And as I used to have really bad headaches when I woke up and through my juggling sessions, lack of sodium can be a cause for that. So I hydrate with 1 scoop of electrolytes, no added sugar, just potassium, magnesium, sodium in the correct balance. Hydrate, drink some raw milk to get some glycogen, some carbohydrates from dairy. Eat some fruit, all natural stuff, usually organic. Uh, and then I stretch a little bit. This is where I do static stretching. So in that 30-minute gap before I juggle, static stretching, a lot of upper back. There's a stretch called the world's greatest stretch, which you can look up online. That is my personal favorite for upper back tightness. It does almost your entire body. Good for hips, good for back, shoulders. And I do like cross body holds, uh, just stuff like that. Hold your legs, leg raises, and then I juggle.
But do you
Um,
notice? Because right now all I'm seeing is like a lot of movements before you're juggling. Do you notice any
mhm.
kind of decrease in performance as you're juggling, or do you feel like your endurance is lacking a little bit because you've done a lot of with your body just before, or do you think that putting your lifting before juggling? I mean, depends on the intensity and the quantity of exercises you do and sets, but like, how do you find pushing your muscles affecting your juggling after? Do you think it's better or
I'm
worse?
really glad you mentioned that. And I used to get very fatigued from that. I did an Instagram questionnaire where people asked me questions about lifting. Someone asked, "How do you negate the effects of an upper body workout from affecting your juggling?" And my answer is that it will. It will, but it will help you in the long term. Uh, the big things that I've used, the tools I've used to negate those effects, I reduced my volume a ton. So I don't do that many sets in the gym. I do 2 sets per exercise, and I choose 4 foundational exercises for that day. I push very hard. I'm usually 1 rep in the tank from failure, but I'm focusing on form. I'm not just like pushing as hard as I can, even if something might hurt. I stay in the proper position. With presses, I keep my upper back in the right position. Um, but I do 8 sets total for my entire workout. And that doesn't leave me too fatigued, but it actually warms up my joints. So as long as I'm pushing hard, not doing too many sets, too much volume, I'm able to push even harder in my juggling sessions. So the rehydrating and taking in some fast digesting carbohydrates right before my juggling session, it truly allows me to push harder, if anything, because the days where I don't lift beforehand, where I just stretch, in the swing of things as fast. So, although it may seem on the surface that lifting will affect your juggling in a negative way, you need to look at it from an individualistic standpoint and say, what works the best for me? If I don't have enough energy to go into my juggling sessions afterwards, I'm doing something wrong. I need to figure out a way to re energize myself in between, or maybe I need to do less in the gym.
But
It's if you're
have you ever switched
Yeah,
the order though? Have you ever done juggling high intensity and then workout, or do you think that's not the best way to
I
do it?
have. I personally don't like that. It might work for some people. It makes it so, first of all, I'm not warmed up when I juggle. So greater risk for injury for me. And also then I can't push as hard in the gym. So I'm not gaining as much muscle over time because I'm fatigued for the weightlifting. For some
Mm.
reason, when I do it the opposite way, when I lift first and then juggle, I feel stronger in my juggling. But if I juggle first and then lift, I feel much weaker in my lifting. So
And
that's
juggling,
what's worked best for me.
so
But
you
yeah,
feel
have you ever
weaker.
tried it?
y- I've done both, but I've noticed because I used to I changed my workout plans a little bit, but I used to do higher volume. Like I would go like 2 hours and a half every day, and like
Yeah.
and also I used to juggle like 2 hours a day. So I like sometimes I took like my entire night just for like lifting and juggling. But like when I did
Wow.
like 2 hours of juggling, I was like completely fatigued at the end of my workouts, and I didn't feel that. Feel I don't know. I felt like I've done like too much for nothing. Like I felt like the last hour was just like too much. Like I've done junk volume at this point, but I don't know. I've noticed that I don't personally juggle every day. I used to for like the first 3 years of my juggling. I used to juggle every day.
Mhm.
But I feel like when I split them, I feel less fatigue for both. So I can put a lot of emphasis on my juggling when I want to like push performances. But I think the good compromise would be like I mean it depends. How long do you stay in the gym and how long do you juggle when you do both in a day?
So I look at these sessions in the terms of ultradian cycles. Our brains and bodies tend to work in 90-minute increments. So from the time that you would usually wake up, your first ultradian cycle starts. So it's about 90 minutes long. And usually the second ultradian cycle, especially for me, but the literature, the neuroscience literature has shown that the second ultradian cycle of the day is when you can be most focused and do deep work. So since I'm very focused on juggling right now, I use that second ultradian cycle in my day to train. Uh, and what I do is I think about it in 90-minute increments, as I said before. So I train weights for 45 minutes to an hour, which means I have about 30 minutes or so left of that ultradian cycle. So let's just say I'm in the gym for an hour. That's max. Usually it's like 45 minutes. I also save energy. So I spend like 60 minutes weight training and then 30 minutes taking in a little bit of food and stretching. So that's like one cycle. And by then, I'm a little bit tired. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to gain energy back for that second ultradian cycle. So my full training time is about 180 minutes. So two ultradian cycles. And I use the second ultradian cycle to juggle. So I have 90 minutes, and your focus starts out uh, it's like you're warming up your focus. Just how you warm up your body, you warm up your mind. So for the first 5 minutes of that third ultradian cycle, uh, I'm just warming up my mind, getting throws in the right places, just doing like overheads with three balls, back crosses, all these different throw patterns. And then after doing that for 5 to 10 minutes, my I am locked in. My focus is on point because I just started that next ultradian cycle. So the first few like 5 to 10 minutes warm up, and then I have 60 to 80 minutes of intense deep work. I'm super focused for an hour to 80 minutes, and then I'm done. At the end of that 90-minute cycle, I see when it hits. I'm like, I cannot focus anymore. I'm not making any progress on my tricks. Let's call it. You get the most bang for your buck. You don't get fatigued as much as you would if you just kept juggling, but you also maximize your learning potential. So ultradian cycles is something I'm looking into more frequently now, and I'm trying to get more knowledgeable on it. But it's definitely a concept I'd recommend looking into because I just split up two ultradian cycles, one for lifting and stretching, body work, and then the other one for juggling. So I'm focused and thinking about juggling. So lift one cycle, juggle the other cycle, and it minimizes my fatigue.
And within the cycle, do you ever like plan out your tricks? Are you like for the first 10 minutes, I'll try like the hardest trick I want to land in the month. Maybe you want to do like a. I've seen some progress about like your 9 ball. I think you want to do a 9 ball qualify. Like let's say you want to do that deep work and you want like push your performance to the max. Do you do like within the first 10 minutes, or do you try to be warmed up and like at what time do you want to do your big tricks and what time do you want to do endurance? What time do you want to like reinforce
Yeah.
the tricks you already know?
Inside of the ultradian cycle, I don't think too much about the order of the tricks. That's more about fatigue management. So because I know I'm going to be focused for about 90 or about 60 minutes, I'm going to be focused the same amount unless a big distraction happens. So I'm just thinking about how can I warm up my body so then I risk injury the least and also gain progress the most. So I usually go from low amounts to higher. So I usually do two props, sometimes three if I'm really training for something, and sometimes one. But I've noticed the best progress with two. So I go 5 balls. I train a few routines. I'm working on a WJF routine right now. So I do my 5 ball routine for 20 minutes, and then I move on to 6 balls for 10, 7 balls for 10, 8 balls for 10, and 9 minutes, 9 balls for 10. And then the second prop, I don't spend that much time. I sometimes spend 20 to 30 minutes with that second prop, usually just going over my WJF routine. And sometimes, like if I'm doing clubs next, I might work on 6 clubs a little bit. Sometimes I might touch on 7. Now that I got the 7 club qualify, I'm not as worried to get it more consistent. I want to get all 3 props qualified with that the big number I'm going for. So with balls, I'm going for the 9 ball qualify. With clubs, the 7 club, and rings, the 8 ring qualify. And once I get all 3 of those, then I'll start trying to push the limits on each one. But Yeah, my I could definitely work on structuring my practices a little bit more. I don't know if it helps or not because I haven't spent enough time working on that.
I mean, you're already structuring everything around it. So I think like
Mhm.
when you're inside, I mean, as long as you feel focused, like you can pretty much do what feels right. Like if you feel like you want to practice more of that, and like if you don't feel like you're sometimes like especially I don't know but like back crosses like one day in the week is gonna be like terrible. You just want to skip it because like no back crosses is like being thrown in the proper place or anything. So maybe sometimes like even myself like I do two props, but even sometimes like ball back cross is not gonna be it. So I just go to clubs and for some reason club back crosses gets better. So I'm like
Yeah.
compensating it elsewhere. Like you just naturally find your shift. Like you do what you think you might need for the next hour, and then you go home and you're like, do you ever note your stuff? Do you? I mean, your
Mhm.
videos is pretty much doing that, but do you ever
Yeah.
like journal what you do? Do you ever like count just like weightlifting? Do you like progressive overload? Do you ever calculate the progress you want to have? Because I know like, have you ever seen like Maximilian Kushmirtz? The have you seen like his 100 catches with 7 balls? Like all the 7 ball side swaps. He's trying to do 100 catches, and he's like he has like all that spreadsheet on like Excel. He's trying to calculate how many days he should improve with that many catches. Like he can count the amount of progress he want to do in the amount of months. I mean, is that some kind of things you want to increment or you you,
Right now,
you want to keep it fun?
no. Yeah, right now the juggling part is it's kind of where I break free because I'm very regimented with my lifting and my stretching and all of the things around juggling. So when I start juggling, that's my time to break free and do things in a creative sense because creativity is something that I struggle with a lot in juggling, and I feel like adding more structure might make my sport juggling improve, but it wouldn't make my creativity get much better. So if I find a new trick that I want to practice, I'll do it because it's fun. So right now I don't think I'm gonna make my juggling too structured, but if I get more serious and with WJF and trying to really push the limits on certain tricks, then that's something I'll explore in the future, but right now it's just I enjoy juggling a lot, and I feel like the videos I'm taking are my way of watching progress. Sometimes I go back and watch videos from 100 days ago, 50 days ago, just to see where I was at, and if I'm plateaued with a trick, I might spend some more time with it, or I might look at my form a bit and say, "Why is my shoulder in that position? Like, shouldn't it be
Hmm.
here?" But I don't write anything down afterwards. Uh, yeah, it's fun. I enjoy juggling right now, and I wanna keep it fun.
Yeah, we should keep it fun because, like we said, the easier we make it and the more fun we make it, it's easier to get more reps in and not get
Mhm.
tired of it. I
Yeah.
mean, before we close up the episode, do you have any jugglers or any content you might want to recommend for people? Do you have someone you want to shout out?
Yeah, well, I've been watching Jean de Baptiste. I think that's how you pronounce his name. If not,
Jean
I'm sorry.
Baptiste.
Jean Baptiste? He's
Yeah.
not there? Okay. Jean Baptiste. His content has been encouraging me to be more regimented around my lifting because I find that fun. Like, if I didn't find regimenting fitness, then I wouldn't do it as much, but I do. So watching his content has been very, inspirational. And I'm very excited to compete against him if he comes to WGF in August, as well as Kevin. I don't know if you've seen a lot of Kevin's stuff recently, but it's incredible. I the whole older he gets, I think incorporating weightlifting and getting his body toned will allow him to push the limits even more. And with being 14 now, it's just crazy. That stuff is inspiring me so much.
Yeah. So check out Jean Baptiste Dio on
Yo,
Instagram and Juggler Kevin on
Juggler
Instagram.
Kevin.
Yeah, I think those two are. I don't know. Even though it's not the same age, they're both like pushing the juggling, the juggling in their own ways. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I
I
love it.
saw Kevin do a 6 ring, 6 up, 720, and I audibly started laughing. Like it was just so unbelievable because I'm like I've tried that trick, like, or not that trick, but I've tried variations like a six ring, six up 360. And I'm like, how do you get around that fast with that much ease? I love it. It's so cool. It's just so cool.
And yeah, something new I want to do with the podcast. Um, can you ask a question for the next guest? And the next guest will have. Unfortunately, I didn't have a question for you because you're gonna be the first one of this occurrence. But like, you want to ask a question for the next guest without
All right,
knowing who
yeah.
it is.
Yep. Okay, I have one. How much do you think juggling has affected your overall athletic performance?
Oh,
It's
imagine.
I've been looking into that concept more, and
Yeah,
I think it's something that helps, but I want to see what the next person says.
yeah, that's perfect. Like, we'll see what. It's crazy. Like, we don't even like even myself. Like, I have some jugglers in mind that I want to have in the podcast, but I don't know like objectively who's gonna be next. So I'm very curious to see who I will ask this question to. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on today. This was so much fun.
Yeah, before we go, can you tell us what we could expect from you? Like, I know you have a crazy cool series that we can follow for the next 1,000 days, so people might get on the train. People might come right now. You could be OG first 200 days,
Yeah.
gang.
Yeah, it's hopefully, I mean, I really don't see reality that I don't get to there, but a few things you can expect. Uh, I'm doing IJA teams this year with Jasper Murphy, XavJuggles on Instagram. Um, WJF 22, or is it 22? I think it's 22. WJF 22 in the Netherlands at EJC this August. I'm going to be competing there, just finishing up my routines. And juggling balls, that's something that will take a little while, but one day I might be giving away some juggling balls. So check out Juggling Matt on Instagram. This is going to be an amazing journey. And also, I want to mention, please suggest content that you want me to make because I've had so many amazing people reach out to me recently asking for content suggestions, and I've had so much fun helping people and creating things, like maybe even a community one day. I would love to make. I've seen Fly Juggler Bennett Santora make a school community, and I was maybe one day build some sort of community to help jugglers, and that's really my passion at the moment. So
That's so fun. Yeah, I mean, all your socials are gonna be down below, so people go check out Matt's Instagram. Like, there's a bunch of cool content. Like, you're not gonna stop making the good content too. Like, I'm super hyped to see the daily videos come back, and like whatever makes you inspired for juggling. Like, even if you want to take like a break from content creation, go back to the weekly, but we don't want you to stop till the Olympics, man.
I'm never gonna stop unless not stop until I'm dead.
All right. So thank you so much for coming to the podcast. It was a great conversation.
Thank you, Xavier.
So thank you everyone for staying this long. This was a very instructive episode. So I hope y'all took some information out of that, or otherwise just good vibes. So thanks for hanging by, and have fun juggling, y'all. See ya.
Peace.